Okay, hello. Today I just want to talk to you about the cell cycle. Before we do start talking about the cell cycle, it's really important to note that mitosis and meiosis actually form part of the cell cycle. So there'll be videos coming up soon that deal with mitosis and meiosis individually, but for now we're talking about the whole cell cycle. Now, what is it? Well, it's the method by which the cell prepares and gets ready to divide. It varies from cell to cell, from species to species. In bacteria it can take as little as 20 minutes, but as we've got at the bottom just here, in mammals it's about 24 hours. Plenty of information here talking you through the various phases, but I want to just talk to and show you the length of time each one takes relative to one another. Now, if you think of it in terms of a clock, interphase is the first phase that happens, and this phase takes the vast majority of the time. And in this phase, it can be broken into three stages. You've got the first growth phase, which we can represent like this, as being G1. This is the phase where the proteins from which all the organelles that are made get replicated and produced and created. The next phase, the S phase, this is when the DNA is replicated. If that didn't happen, the two daughter cells or four daughter cells wouldn't have the right amount of DNA, so the S phase is where DNA is replicated. And then the second growth phase, or G2, as you can see I've written down there, that is where the organelles actually grow and divide. So, interphase takes up a huge amount of time, the vast majority of the time of the cell cycle. This is the cell getting ready to actually divide. The next stage is nuclear division, and I'm going to represent that just in there. Now, nuclear division is when the nucleus actually divides, as the name suggests. Now, that can be mitosis, to create two identical daughter cells for growth and repair, or it can be meiosis, where it produces those four haploid gametes. Again, I'll talk about those a bit later. And then finally, after you've had cell division, this bit just here will be cytokinesis, and that is where the cell actually splits in two. So the cell cycle: interphase, preparing, readying for division; nuclear division, just the nucleus dividing; and then cytokinesis, the whole cell dividing. I've got a diagram here that shows you it in a bit better detail. Here, all the way around here, interphase. Growth of the proteins, DNA replication, creation of new organelles, and then mitosis. Again, not talking about mitosis here, but you can see you've got the phases: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. And then here we've got cytokinesis. Please note, interphase, vast majority of the cell cycle. What this slide here does is just show you diagrammatically what's happening. Interphase, we're going from this smaller cell to this bigger cell. The organelles are getting bigger, the nucleus is getting bigger, the cell is preparing to divide. Nuclear division, notice the cell is still the same size after the nucleus is divided, but we've now gone from one to two smaller size nuclei. And then cytokinesis, the cell itself is actually splitting. In this case, this cell division would have been mitosis because we've created two identical daughter cells. Finally, an examiner's tip on this. Examiners point out it's really important to remember that the DNA replication takes place during interphase and before any mitosis or cytokinesis takes place. So that's the cell cycle. Have a look, and there'll be some videos on mitosis and meiosis, which is one of the two types of nuclear division that can take place.